Hi Saad, thank you so much for coming and talking to BPF. How are you doing today?
I am doing very well, thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Can you tell us about your early influences and what inspired you to pursue a career in the arts?
Early influences, really, they've always been there. You know, like I come from a family of makers, from my nana who was a tailor to my mother who is also a wonderful tailor, weaver, maker. My father, amazing calligrapher. So it's always been there in the family, in my DNA. So I feel like it was just inherently there. However, when it came to pursuing a career in the arts, I have to say that my parents were initially quite hesitant, understandably so, because we're a migrant family and I'm the only son in a South Asian household, and they really wanted me to do something where I can secure a well-paid job at the end of my education, and understandably so. So it was, I give a lot of credit to my school teacher, Mrs. Robinson, who then convinced my parents that Saad has a real talent here, and they then allowed me to go into the arts, and now they're my biggest supporters. So it's been amazing that way.
Your work blends architecture, memory, and landscape. What draws you to these themes and how do you approach the creative process?
So architecture is just incredibly amazing because, spaces are living, breathing entities. They're not just kind of flat things that we've made, but they have a real character in their own right. And I find that really fascinating about architecture. But architecture is like only a reference point that I really want to marry through time and memory. So one of the examples, for example, I give is that I was born in Pakistan in a Haveli, and like throughout my childhood, it was referred to as the Badi Haveli, like the big house. And so I left Pakistan when I was 8, turning 9, and growing up in the UK. This house, this Haveli, was huge in my memory. It was just massive, huge ceiling, huge courtyard, and all the rest of it. But and then my first ever opportunity to revisit the Badi Haveli was I was 24, and I was so surprisingly disappointed at the sheer size of it. I grew up in the Haveli shrine. So, and that's my fascination with architecture, that it's elastic. Landscape is elastic, it travels, and it kind of plays all these amazing tricks on your mind, and that's the fascination.
Could you share any pivotal moments in your career where you felt your artistic voice, when your artistic voice truly emerged?
A pivotal moment where my artistic voice has emerged. I believe that's yet to come, but I hope that it never happens, it never comes, because I feel as an artist, it's really important to keep reinventing, and to keep reinventing myself as a maker, to come up with new ideas and how I married them with the materiality. It's not just one medium that I work in. So I really hope that moment never comes, but I feel it's yet to come.
Your installations are known for their immersive and thought-provoking nature. Could you walk us through your creative process when developing a new piece?
So the sculpture pieces, I actually call them mindscapes. So these works, for example, this one, Bridging the Hereafter, or the one that we're looking at over there, A Handful of Paradise. These are stories that I collected from other people about their understanding of what paradise means to them, and then different stories were then woven together to make and reimagined to then manifest into these sculptural pieces. So the process is that I have to imagine myself in somebody else's dream, so I'm kind of navigating my way around this mindscape, and I'm traveling through it, and I come across these elements, whether it's a very large scale moon, a tree, a pagoda, a walking path thing. And you know, like I think that they are all sitting very comfortably together. They're juxtaposed very well, but they don't quite fit together. So my process is that I have to imagine it as a bit of like a fantasy land that, you know, I'm going to invite the viewers to travel around these mindscapes, and there's a sense of familiarity, and then but it's so other at the same time. So it's kind of interesting. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay.
Fantastic. How do you balance form and meaning in your work? Is there a particular material or technique you are currently exploring?
I like to describe myself as a very conceptually driven artist, so where the concept comes first, and then I think about the materials. The materiality is secondary. Once I've fully formed the idea and I know that this is what I want to make the work about, or what I want the work to kind of talk about, then I think about what materials can I use to best articulate these particular set of ideas. And then I have to let go of everything and just enjoy making. You know, like there has to be a real joy as a maker in what I do, you know, a real form of play. I feel like that's really important in the work, because I know that whatever the outcome is, it will somehow add up to the concepts, the ideas that I started off with. So the materiality and the conceptual underpinning, it's kind of hand in hand, because there's a real joy in playing, so they kind of always add up to one thing.
As a British Pakistani artist, how do your cultural heritage and identity influence your art?
You know, it's so interesting that you say that, because for the longest time I have been really resisting this title as a British Pakistani artist. You know, growing up in the UK and working in London, you know, I really, I guess the desire was just to be known as an artist who makes, you know, without any kind of labels and everything else. But you know what? Recently I realized that no matter what I do, I cannot dictate other people how they should describe me as an artist. And I can't ever have an out-of-body experience. So I only do me. I can only do me. You know, I'm a man, a person of color. You know, like I am who I am, and I can't have this out-of-body experience. You know, the work isn't really exploring my cultural identity. The work is just about how I see the world around me and how I can bridge the gap between us and them. That's all the work is doing. It's not like, you know, does that make sense? Like, I think, okay, I'll stop there on that one. Yeah.
How important is it for you to represent or challenge cultural narratives through your work?
Well, I mean, again, I think I kind of answered this one in the last one, because I feel like you know, it's not really up to me. I can't choose. I've never chosen to represent my cultural heritage through the work. You know, like for example, we are looking at a very large paper tapestry here. It's titled Tana Bana, and that comes out of my personal history, where my grandfather was a tailor for the British Army. My mother is this incredible weaver. There's a real history of weaving and textiles in my family that I want to address, and I really want to make that work. So where, you know, this work, for example, is about, you know, my weaving together different design textiles and making up with my own new design. But again, this is who I am and who I've become over the years. So I wouldn't say the aim was ever to set myself out to represent that. And I don't like the word challenge, because I'm not the one to challenge. I would never do that.
You've exhibited your work internationally. How do audiences in different countries react to your art? And does that shape how you present your work?
You know, this is a very difficult one to answer, because, you know, I don't look at people as a group. I'm such an individual, I look at like individuals rather than a mass. I can't really answer that one because I've had like incredibly interesting conversations all around the world, you know, Middle East, South Asia, here in the States. I don't know how to put people in a certain like a type of reception that my work has had, but I would, whatever that reaction is, I don't feel that I've been able to make work to evoke a certain reaction or reception from the viewers. I think that, you know, I have to make the work that I want to make, and I hope that it resonates with people and they like it. So, yeah.
So how do you hope your art impacts viewers, especially young British Pakistanis or people from similar backgrounds?
I think, okay, for me, it's really important that, you know, people of my cultural background looking at art as being a real career option. Because when I was a student, I didn't have that many artists that I was looking at that were of my cultural background. And therefore it was that much more harder for me to convince my parents that, look, you know, so-and-so is doing it. So I think that this is a real opportunity for me that I should go and do it. So I think that I hope that my work inspires other South Asians to come into the arts, because it's a big world full of surprises and opportunities.
What are some upcoming projects or exhibitions we can look forward to? How do you see your work evolving in the next few years?
There are so many incredibly exciting projects coming up for 2025 and 2026. Sadly, I can't share them just yet because you know, they will do the announcements and then I can share them onto my socials, but some very exciting things coming up. And what was the second part of the question?
Where do you see your work evolving?
Where do I see my work evolving? I hope that it just keeps surprising me. I don't know you know, what's coming, because I'm actually quite an impatient maker. I have to keep evolving. So I just want to be surprised by what's next.
Saad, thank you so much for talking to BPF. We enjoyed your work and we wish you the very best of luck for the future.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.